welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming up, and thank you for being willing to participate in this kind of a format. I know it's a little unusual.
No, it's wonderful and it's a pleasure, and I always feel at home with Tea Party patriots. So I'm honored to be here tonight.
And one thing I'll tell you and the audience too is I'm going to try to keep one of the objectives of this format was to make sure that everybody gets equal time. So I've got my little timer here, counting down from 15 minutes already. So we'll jump in. And again, keep in mind that this is a new format for myself as well. One of the first questions that I had about someone seeking office is if you've ever sought office before. Are there any other races that you've been in, any other positions that you've sought in the past?
I have never held public office before, but I have been a leader. I've been a Tea Party leader, and I'm a director for the Prosper Historical Society. So I have had experience on that side of things. I'm an activist for liberty and freedom. I stand for inalienable rights, and that has been the leadership role. I've never held office in an official capacity.
Now you mentioned are there commissions, boards, things like that you've served on, other things like that aren't necessarily elected positions?
Yes, like when I lived in Plano, I guess it was 2003, 2004, I was on a HOA architectural board, so things like that, but never, just some clubs here and there, but nothing as serious until two things happened. I moved to Prosper in December of 2006, and shortly thereafter, I was so grateful for moving to the wonderful town of Prosper because I grew up in Richardson, and I grew up with family values. I grew up in a safe and wonderful community that was all about outreach, your neighbors. You knew your neighbors, kids played out in the front yard. And when I moved to Plano, it was like going back in time in a very strange way, and I was so grateful for that. I thought, I have got to find a way to give back to this wonderful town of Prosper. And then that coincided with the emergence of the Tea Party. I attended a Tea Party rally July the 4th, 2009 out at South Fork Ranch. And I will never forget that day. I have always had an interest in politics and followed politics, but until that day, I thought, wow, there's really like-minded people out here. You know, I'd listen to Rush on the radio or I'd see people on TV, but I didn't really, even though I lived in Plano from 2001 to 2006, I never, which is a very conservative town or city, I never really found my neighbors willing to discuss politics or step out in faith until the Tea Party movement. And from that day forward, I found a purpose. I founded like-minded people. My name ended up on am I going on too long? Let me wrap this up real quick. I put my name on an email list, came home, went in on DallasTeaParty.org, was queued in to my zip code, 75078 in Prosper. Kelly Cooper, who's in the audience tonight, was the founder of the Prosper Tea Party. We met, became fast friends, partners and sisters in liberty, and we have led that group together and have never looked back and had a blast doing it. And really, our key was education and activism, getting out in the community and engaging your elected reps. I love talking about the Tea Party.
One other thing that I was curious about is this particular election. I assume you've had the opportunity in the past to run for school board, town council, who knows what else. Why county commissioner? Why now?
That's an excellent question. I've been asked that before because I find the county position such a good fit for me. I follow transportation. I follow infrastructure. I follow property rights. Property rights are huge, people. Without our property rights, we're nothing more than serfs, and there is such an infringement and such an assault today on our property rights. Many people are not aware. I'm aware. I serve on the Town of Prosper's Comprehensive Advisory Committee for 16 months, and that was to for a committee in Prosper to come up with a plan for the town of Prosper, a 5 to 6 outlook for the town of Prosper. Until I served on that committee for the 16 months, I never knew there were so many outside entities just rubbing their little hands together, wanting to get a hold of your city, town, or county and dictate how you're going to grow.
And let me ask, are there, of some of those issues that you've been concerned for in the past, any of those that you've gone to the Commissioner's Court regarding those issues in the past? Times you've gone there. I guess kind of the question behind that question is your level of involvement or participation in the Commissioner's Court.
Well, I have. I try to follow county goings on. I focus so much on Prosper, that keeps me really busy, but here's what I do. The best kept secret in the world, ladies and gentlemen, are those citizen comments. And if I learn something that I find alarming that I want to get out, I will go to the Commissioner's Court. I will get up during citizen comments, the 3 minutes. That's usually all you need if you know your stuff, and to get it on the public record.
That's something you've done.
Yes, I have some. That is something I've done on several occasions, maybe 3 or 4. I'm not sure, but I have spoke on the public record. I believe in attending meetings and getting on the public record. I think that's very important.
Okay. I know there was one particular issue that came up before the court, which was for the county employees and
Yes.
the restructuring of their retirement.
That was a tough one. That was tough, and it was tough to follow, and it was very involved. And anybody that knows me, I'm an information junkie, and I vet, and I drive people crazy because I will not weigh in until I have all the information. And on that one, I had to just stay silent. I was confused. I understood the court is a great fiscal conservatives on that court. I understand that they thought that a change needed to be made, and were adamant in doing this because they thought that the county was at risk financially. But I did follow loosely. I did attend a couple of meetings, and when I would see the elected reps in the county, department heads, some of the county employees come up, there was confusion. They did not understand. These people, we're one of the fastest growing counties, not in Texas, ladies and gentlemen, in the United States. And so we have got to prepare for the future. These elected officials in the county, they have to hire, they have to recruit, and we want good people. We are the jewel of North Texas. We are the best. We are an affluent county, a median income, $80,000 a year, and the average home price, and this is unbelievable to me, is north of $200,000. We are a very blessed county, and we want to keep Collin County #1, and it's because of the people of Collin County. It's because of the good county employees. It's because of all the wonderful elected officials. And I also attended a Citizens Prosecutors Academy. I highly recommend this. It's a program you show up for. It was 8 to 12 weeks. You would go once a week, and they would present to you a different department and have people come and speak to you. And it was soup to nuts with the county. They covered all the different, the juries, the judges, even the coroner's office. That was a fascinating one. A child advocacy program. And it just gave me such a good overview, and the jail too, even a tour of the jail. And what I want to say about that, I came away with such a profound respect for the employees of Collin County. I was moved, and I even called Sheriff Box after the tour of the jail because it renewed my sense of humanity when I went and saw that jail. Saw how the deputies treat the inmates. There is such a level of respect, and I wasn't prepared for it. I've never toured a jail. I didn't know what to expect, but it was a marvelous experience, and I cannot say enough about the county employees, and that's what concerned me, the unrest that the pension thing caused. Now, I think there was,
How do you feel about the plan that they want?
I still think there's questions because even I think even the day of the vote, there were 2 commissioners that said that perhaps they needed more information, and I'm thinking, I'm watching this, I'm from the outside, so who am I? If they're still wanting information, I know my personality, I would want more information too. And so I have to say that. Now, I have talked to a commissioner in Grayson County. They thought this was very necessary, but up there they brought someone in to talk to the employees, someone an objective opinion from the outside that could come and explain this and put some comfort and ease with the employees. But that was a tough one. That was a tough one, and but we'll know more going forward.
Yeah, it was, and it's, you know, for the folks that work with the county that have been through that, it's been a painful process, but then you look at some of our northern neighbors and the fiscal troubles that those cities and counties are going through.
Right, we cannot go the way, we cannot go the way of California. I understand that, I'm a fiscal conservative, but the devil's in the details, and sometimes there's, you have to look at when people are vetted, do they take money out, or do they get the full match? There's so many variables involved, and I just have to not weigh in on that.
Right, and a lot of that, I guess, individuals who own small businesses or own their own companies, things like that, have experiences with dealing with personnel issues, with benefit packages, things like that.
Sure.
Tell me about your work experience, any particular past work experience that you think has been especially helpful in preparing you to be a county commissioner?
Well, I did work for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation from March of 1986 to October of 1994, and that was really interesting work. It was a crazy time. That's when all the banks were failing, and I was in Addison at an office we were called the liquidation office. And we would, back then, a bank would buy a failing bank, and whatever that bank did not want in the way of assets, be that loans, furniture, fixtures, equipment, computers, pencils, cars, rolling stock, we would liquidate. And that was really interesting. I worked there for 9 years. It was really my first job out of college, and I learned so much, and I worked on both sides, personnel and credit. It was awesome.
And how about now, or anything more recent?
I currently work for Huntington Homes at Phillips Creek Ranch in new home sales, and I tell you, they say housing's a driver of the economy, and if that is indeed the case, we are on an uptick. I have people pouring into my model home from all different states, New York, Florida, Colorado, Chicago, and they come in here and they are looking for a great quality of life. They're looking for affordable homes, cost of living, which is so good here. Business climate is just booming, and people want to be here, and they want a sense of community. You know, we hear so many times people from other states are pouring into Texas and bringing their liberal ideology. That's not what I find. I find that people are coming here wanting to get back to something that makes sense, and they're raising kids. I mean, most of our families have 3 and 4 children. It's really wonderful to see.
Now, with the demographic changes, the growth, a lot of issues that our county faces and other counties don't. Were you to be elected to the Commissioner's Court, is there a particular project, particular mission, something that you feel that if you're there, this is going to be your baby, this is what you're going to grab hold of and run with it?
I would have a huge mission if elected, and you know what that is? To get in there, to work, to get in the trenches, meet my constituents, get to know each office of Collin County intimately, all the inner workings, because the court holds the purse strings. And how can you make appropriate decisions on where money goes unless you intimately know the workings of all the different departments? And so that would be quite a task, but I'm up to it. I'm a very hard worker, I'm diligent, I do my homework, and I love it. And I love meeting people, and I want to represent all the constituents of Precinct 1, because today, yes, I'm a lifelong Republican, and yes, we're a conservative county, but there is, roads, bridges, so much infrastructure and things that we're going to need to compete and to progress. It doesn't necessarily matter if you have a R or D behind your name. We need to work on transportation. People have got to go to work. I'm very concerned. Transportation is really one of my top priorities. That and what Obamacare is going to do to us with health care. I'm very concerned of that too. And I want to applaud the court for two things, if I may, before. Am I almost done here?
You're almost done.
Okay, real quickly, I want to applaud the court. They have held us being annexed into the Dallas Hospital District. That is huge. That is huge. And they've done a great job. That's not been easy. And they've also pushed back against the NTTA a little bit with the forming and crafting, which I thought was a brilliant and creative idea of the Collin County Toll Authority. And you know what? After they did that, NTTA started giving us a little attention, and I appreciate that.
I think somebody else must have had their 15-minute timer.
Yeah.
Set that there too. Well, I heard another chime going off in the background. Just one little quick question.
Okay.
With obviously 3 excellent candidates for this position.
Yes.
What about you would make someone say, that's who I want representing me on the commissioner's court?
You know what?
I mean, what would you say? I mean, if there's like that gem or that pearl or that one thing that distinguishes you from your competitors, what would you say would kind of move somebody in their heart and in the voting booth to say, she's the one?
My tenacity. I don't give up. I study, I research, I will come to a conclusion, I draw a line in the sand, and I stick by it. And I stand by my convictions, even if I stand alone. And I think people will come to know me, they will come to depend on me, and know that when I say something, I mean it. And I'm also very open-minded. I like to hear from people. I know what I think, but I don't know what all you out there think, and I want to know what you think. Because in order to represent properly, you have to know what's on the minds of your constituents.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Set a little, I guess, kind of some ground rules. First of all, no bombs, no grenades, no loaded questions. Let's try to keep it as reasonably friendly and polite. But also, when you stand to ask your question, if you would state your name, to whom the question is addressed, and then the question. Yes, sir.
Jack Dixon, but I'd like all 3 candidates to address this. My name is Jack Dixon. I'd like all 3 candidates to address this question. And I'm concerned over toll roads. It seems like North Texas is being overrun with toll roads. And I'd like to hear each candidate's thoughts on how to move forward and provide the infrastructure that Mark wants, yet still avoid massive toll roads. Thank you.
Yes, I have the microphone, so I should answer that first. I'm certainly with you on that. I'm not a big fan of toll roads myself. I would love for all toll roads to be like I-30 was. You know, once the debt service is done, then take the toll away. I would love for that to be the case in every toll road that we have. Dallas North Tollway, as you know, has been paid for over and over again. They just keep extending the road and keep extending having to pay. Having to pay for those, and the people that are using the old part of the road are still paying. I don't know how many times over and over that's happened. Unfortunately, the way that the transportation funding is done in the state, there's just not enough money for roads. I do not like it when a public road is turned into a toll road. We go in and we do managed lanes, we do different things, and it really is a problem. These are public roads. I don't want to turn them into toll roads. There's also many other things that we could address. We've got the outer loop and how we're going to fund that. That's like a $4 billion project. It's a big project here in the county. It's like the upside down L that goes through the county, through the northern part and then down on the eastern side of the county. But certainly I agree with you. I think it's a problem. We're going to have to do something. I think part of it is the gasoline tax. We've got, I think it's 47% of the gasoline tax is not used on the roads. You know, it goes to education. It goes to many other things, and I think that's a big problem. We need to be lobbying down in Austin, you know, to figure out a different way to fund education, to figure out a different way to fund our transportation. We've got a problem. So.
I concur. We have a huge problem. There is no adequate funding at the federal or state level for transportation. We've been kicking the can down the road for a long time, and the answer are the toll roads that you see. Not only toll roads, they are now placing managed toll lanes on what have historically been freeways. I find that very problematic, but it is what it is. COG, I believe last year, I don't have my notes with me, they're in my purse, but I believe that we're at 1.1, according to Mobility 2035, billion that is needed, and the region is at 4 billion. So we are way behind on transportation. These are huge numbers, and we have got to lobby the legislature. They have got to get serious. They have got to talk about transportation, and we've got to assess where we are, stop diversions. We have to come up with ways to fund our roads. Texas is the last bastion of freedom, and people should not be taxed by the mile for their personal mobility. I do not agree with that. I have a huge problem with it.
I think we all agree on the majority of this. The problem is we don't have the funding from the federal government and the state government that we need. So we built these toll roads. Nobody likes them. There's a lot of toll fatigue in Collin County. I can't imagine what people spend that live in the northern part of the county and have to go to downtown Dallas every month. It's like a car payment, I guess. The reality is we need transportation infrastructure, and it takes decades. It literally, this is what I've learned on the planning board. The outer loop, for instance, that's in its infancy, and it'll take 30 or 40 years to build that if it ever gets built. It took 30 years to build 121. So we've got to look way out into the future, and people don't think about it until you're having to wait 3 times to get through the stoplight to get home at night. Hello? So, I don't have the solution, but we've got to, first off, make sure, or do everything we can to get the legislature to spend the money, spend the tax dollars that are collected for transportation infrastructure on transportation infrastructure. Both of y'all mentioned that. The shortfall, or the monies that they take from transportation, from the gas tax and from the vehicular sales tax, if that money was put back into the roads, it would go a long way towards solving the problem that we have. Not completely, but it would help a tremendous amount. But the legislature doesn't appear to have the will to do that. So that's my preference. If we do end up with toll roads, to me it's critical, 2 things are critical. One is that we don't toll roads that were built with tax dollars. That's double taxation, and that's just simply wrong. There's legislation that exists that's supposed to prevent that, but the legislature continues to water that down and make it easier and easier for the possibility of tolling a road that is previously built with tax dollars. The other, now I'm having a senior moment here, the other issue is, yes, we don't want to privatize the profits from toll roads and socialize the debt. The devil is in the detail on toll road contracts with companies. If a company wants to come in and build a toll road and invest billions of dollars to do so and make the profits from that investment, then they need to be on the hook for the risk, not the citizens. That's what's wrong.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to modify the rules because the 3 candidate questions get a little long. 1 candidate questions a little long. Yes.
Duncan Boyles for Mr. Reed. You stated that of the projects you'd like to address, foremost among them was employee compensation. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what all that entails and what your plans for that are?
Sure. The employees are now on a pay-for-performance plan. They used to be on a step plan, which basically meant you got a raise for staying alive another year. That's a little cynical, sorry. However, we're on a performance compensation plan, and it creates some difficulties for some of the areas, like the sheriff's office. We want to retain good sheriff's deputies. We want to retain good employees. So I want to look at those programs look at those systems and try and find a way to provide a salary plan that will keep the good sheriff's officers that we have, but won't reward people simply for existing for another year. There's got to be a way to do that. We did it in our business, and I think we can do it in law enforcement as well.
Thanks. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Mickey Martin, I have a question really is for all three, because it's just a general principle of what you think about eminent domain issues. I know that's kind of calmed down in the last year or two, but I've been the victim of that 4 times. I could win a lotto doing that. But each time it's been for roads and things like that, it's bad enough. But if somebody took my property to give it to someone else to build a shopping mall, I think I'd have a stroke. What's your feelings on eminent domain issues?
Thank you for that question. I can certainly understand your angst with that. I completely concur with you, and I think that's wrong, especially in a situation. There's times when it has to happen, don't get me wrong. There's a road that needs to be built. You know, there's times when that has to happen. When it's for economic development, for some private individual to just make a profit at your expense on your back, I have a real problem with that. Absolutely, I'm completely against it. Bottom line.
Private property is what is responsible for the freedoms that we enjoy. Without private property, we are nothing more than serfs. The problem with eminent domain is many times you're not compensated adequately. They say, well, this is what's fair, and they'll get a committee together and have these people determining what your property is. How dare them, okay? And they'll also tell you, especially look out if they're a hand in glove with the PUC, like Encore and PUC when they were bringing wind energy to North Texas. That happened to some friends of mine up in Salina, and they were going to put these big utility lines right through their horse property. And you know, people don't want nice horses under power lines, okay? Whatever that science is, that's for another day. But people don't like it. But I read the packet, and you would not believe the language and how aggressive. They say, if you don't like it, meet us in Austin. Feel free at any point in this deal to hire an attorney, and we'll see you in Austin. You think you can go up against the pockets of Encore and the PUC? Good luck to you. That's a problem. We have to keep being good advocates of property rights and fight like heck.
I agree.
You got the ones that are trying to get into. Well, I'm going to close the question and answer section there so that we can get out on time. And you know, I was just standing here looking at you guys, listening to these candidates, and thinking to myself, what a country, what a county. Thank you all so much.